again, it's just like a life insurance policy. But I'm having this conversation today because as it pertains to real estate, right? Some states, they will not do a title search. So when I say I want to do a review on businesses, I would like to talk to the public about something personal as it's associated with real estate. So if you don't know, and I will provide the link because everything here is factual, and this conversation is something personal, and it's probably something that a lot of people are going through. So what I want to do is I want to provide a forum for those people where they can come here and get the honest advice. Because right now, what we do is we rely on the licensed professionals that put us in a contract and say they're going to represent us to do actually that. So we have to hold a license. Anyone that's licensed is an independent contractor. And we have insurance policies to make sure that we are serving the public the way that they are supposed to be served. If not, we can be sued. So in this case, I just want to run this scenario by you. So if you don't know about the Carolinas and transferring of properties, those attorneys there, they typically don't do title searches. If you buy a property, chances are, maybe the ones that I'm dealing with, the attorney will transfer that property to the new person, and they will say at the top, without the benefit of a title abstract or a title search. That means that they are not giving you a warranty deed to say that, to warrant that we've done our due diligence. We know that there's no liens out there. We know that the seller that's selling this property is the actual seller. And we know that there's no clouds on this property that we're about to transfer over to you. So what they will do is, what some will do is, you will get that attorney that will transfer that property just to get it out of that phase and transfer it maybe to a family member. And then now they will sell it, and then maybe it will say with the benefit of a title search, maybe. But in most cases in the Carolinas, if you have an attorney in your family and you're working on transferring property or keeping property or concealing property, you're going to want to have or need to have somebody within the family or that's benefiting from the transfer that you're keeping away from the true heirs. So in most cases, you may have to deal with a probate litigation attorney. And we have to, and right now what I'm doing is I'm dealing with that with a client where he purchased the property for his son and he put his son on the title. So once he put his son on the title, that meant his son now has ownership. Although the father paid the mortgage, the son now has ownership. So unfortunately, the son passed away. The father did his due diligence, went to the court to file for the probate of his son to inform them that he is passed and that he would like to sell the house and he is the only heir for the property. So with the information that is given, the courts award him as the sole owner of that property that he can sell. But when a qualified, ready and able buyer came, and the title company or attorney where we was closing at, it's time for them to do their due diligence. They want to make sure there's no liens. They want to make sure there's no contractors that have contractor lien, no tax lien. They want to make sure that the seller is the only seller that's transferring this property, because they only transfer properties with a warranty deed because they are coupled with a title policy, meaning they standing behind it. So guess what happened? They found that the decedent had a wife, although she was already married to someone else. So now guess what? Everything had to stop. They did not allow that transfer to go forward. And so she is now added on and is entitled to half the proceeds. In addition to that, the decedent, she has 2 children with the decedent. So now all 3 of them have an interest in the property. It's still 50%, but those 3 have to split that 50, and the dad gets his 50. So now when there are children involved, now you have to get someone that's going to represent the interests of the children, because she has her attorney and the kids have their attorney to make sure that the funds is going into a trust for those kids. That's the right way to do it. And I wish they all would do it. I don't know why they don't do that. But in this case, that's one thing. So we're going to closing with that. Everybody's rights are protected and they're good to go. But in this case, if it's not done the right way, then now you have to get a litigation attorney that's now going to probate, that's going to assist with the transferring of that land. And if you're fighting for it, and in our case, that's what we're currently doing, is fighting for our share. And at this point, my dad has been deceased since '93. And we had no idea that we had this extra inheritance. And what we were told we've been paying taxes on it. Although we have no ownership on title. We just have some trumped up, written up document on a Word document saying that it's not filed anywhere, it's no ownership, you can't do anything with it. So, family members want to play as if they're their own attorney, but they know exactly what they're doing. But anyway, so what happened is, once that revelation came to our attention, I had to now find an attorney that would assist with this legal litigation for this heir property against my aunts and cousins. So in this case, what happens is you hire a professional, and this review is basically going to be on the experience that I've had for the past 2 years in working with a licensed professional in assisting in this battle of litigation. And it's extremely, extremely important that you find the right person. And half the time you won't really even know if they're the right person until it's kind of too late. So in my case, I want to say I am probably 20,000, I'm just going to give you a hard number, 20,000 out of pocket. No civil suit has been filed and no resolve. What I found is I had hired an attorney to represent us. So we signed a contract, we provided the monetary $5,000 of the retainer fee, which was required, and we provided the necessary information so that they can move forward to see if it's something that they can really even handle. So in most cases, when you're going to court, you need the facts. It's not a conversation. You provide the proof and you let the judge make the determining factor. But before you can do that, you need an attorney to file those necessary documents for you so that you can get your justice. But in my case, I hired an attorney that was in Beaufort, South Carolina, and her name was Denisesavage. Now the savage part, I don't know if that's it definitely isn't pertaining to how she's gonna take care of you and win your case. I think it was more so what she basically did to us. And seeing her and signing this agreement with her, I didn't hear from her for like 3 months, so I wouldn't recommend her. I had to follow up to say, I just wanted to touch bases. I wanted to confirm you received my check, and it was cashed a few months ago, but I haven't heard anything. That's probably one sign. After doing that, I provided the proof, because now this is my story, this is what the situation is. Here is my uncle's probate, was the only one that was done, that outlines the heirs, that's my dad, that's his parents, blah, blah, blah. Provided the deed for my grandfather, which shows my aunt name on the deed, although his estate was never probated, so she doesn't have the right to do that. I also seen that in 2014, they now transferred some interest over to my cousin, which is now transferring that over to him and giving him authorization with other things. That's just how they do it. They'll say, I'm transferring this one little building, and then on the last page, it's an exhibit, or at the bottom of the survey, it lists another deed book and page number, and then you put that in, and then that takes you to a whole world of other properties, and then they have that wrapped up into an LLC. So we have the title search. No, so we have the probate from my uncle. We have the deed from my grandfather. We have the survey that they've actually conducted and listed the few properties, although that wasn't accurate. And then the property that was found that I brought to the attorneys, it basically, she requested at that point that I do get a title search performed. Now, again, in the Carolinas, nobody does a title search. But that's no problem, because whatever proof we need to show that this is what's happening, we'll comply. So she did not do this title search. She didn't say this is what I'm gonna do. I paid her and she put me to work. And then she charged me for it. Because whenever she sent me out there to do something, she said, I can do it, but I will charge you. But you're charging me anyway. Because when I go and get it, I'm giving it to you and you're charging me for reviewing it. And then because you didn't put the time, energy, and effort in to go and get it, it's unfamiliar to you. It's like more paperwork piling up on top of paperwork. So anyway, got the title search performed, came back, and we found out that these are the properties. It identifies each property. It identifies the property number, the current owner, how much they got it for, when it transferred, and that this is the heir's property. In addition to that, it also notated that there was a common plea that was done on the property, which lists the property and actually listed those properties. So you would think it's a slam dunk. Why would it take 2 years to even remotely go into filing a civil suit? That's all the proof. It's in the court. It's in the courts. So what happened was, this is what she said, just to string me along personally, because her story kept changing each and every time the story was changing, and taking the correct approach on how she was gonna navigate this litigation. What she said to me was opposite of what she actually did. She couldn't remember anything. She wanted to keep going back and forth. Everything was homework. This is the kicker. I guess, when I met her initially, it was a conversation about Trump. And maybe initially, when you have a client, it's all about connecting with that client. You always want to have that connection, and that's fine. But I don't want to talk about Trump. I'm not here for Trump. Trump ain't assisting me in helping my family obtain what we are supposed to obtain legally. I don't care. But I knew what that was all about. Again, I've been in this real estate industry for 25 years, and I can say that I'm a great judge of character, but I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I don't judge people based on the color of their skin, their nationality, or any of that. But she chose to take that route. So needless to say, I didn't have anything to say about it except for, I don't know what this world is coming to. But maybe she wanted more conversation to hear about where I was coming from. In addition to that, she wanted to know, when was I planning on retiring? Then she said, well, what I want to know is if we do this litigation, and if they have as much money as you say they have, they can delay this. They can delay this. But your job is to go through the facts, file the paperwork. I get it. You want to let me know. You want to let me know worst case scenario. But in letting me know the worst case scenario, I want you to actually be doing what you say you're going to do, because that means that you are preparing me, which that's fine. But in order for you, as the attorney, for her to prepare what she needed to prepare, she needed the facts. So she had the facts within 5 or 6 months after, because we had to wait a few months for the title search. So we already had it all slam dunk, but she refused to file the civil suit. She wanted to know more about the other properties. And I said to her, I don't want to give you all of those properties because it's just going to muck up everything. It's just going to cause a whole lot. It's going to be too much. So then she says, well, this is what we'll do. Give me a list of all of the properties that you feel you own. So I wrote up this whole page, probably 50 pages. And she said, we'll just sue all of them. So I wrote up these 50 pages, sent them over to her, never filed a civil suit. I would email her and say, hey, I just want to check the status to kind of see where we're going with this. I'm on vacation. Then when she gets back with me, she has to start all over again. So it's almost like we weren't getting anywhere. I was thinking, she can't be incompetent. She's been doing this for a long time. You know what I'm saying? She worked in New York. I forget what her role was with the Superior Court in New York. But I just felt that, you know, either she is stalling or, I hate to say paid off, but my aunt called awfully giddy a few days before she said she wasn't doing it. So I mean, you know, you just feel everything out. You just determine whether or not, you know, was she bought off or not. But one thing I do know for sure is I was overcharged because I'm doing the work. She's charging me for reviewing it, but then again, she's not reviewing it because she doesn't remember it. In addition to that, she asked me to take a trip to come down to the South Carolina, Beaufort, South Carolina, and bring her everything that I had. I went in there with 6 binders roughly. 6 binders. She said to me, when she present this to the judge, she wants to present everything to him. And when presenting it to him, she wants the plaques where it's laid out so that it's a picture. So, she, you know, and just line everything up. I did that. I exhausted myself by duplicating everything that I already had in my presence to give to her so that she can move forward comfortably with the civil suit. But that was a waste of time. My energy and my time to duplicate what I already had. She already had it accessible to her. She's the attorney, she's in the area. She could have printed off online, but she refused to do anything. So what she would do is $300 an hour, she would charge me for reviewing what I did, but wouldn't move forward with anything that I gave her. So to me, what was she doing with the information? Compiling it for what? And to do what with it? She can't do anything with it unless you presenting it to somebody else. But needless to say, what I paid for and what I contracted her for didn't come to fruition. She later hired at the end, she called me 2 weeks before the 19th of June and said, I finished all of my other cases and I am able to give 100% to your case. Almost a week and a half later, after that, she calls me roughly on the 19th of June and started sending me emails about, are you related to this person and is this one of the properties that you're going for? And I said, I am related to that person, but I am not going after that property as an interest because as you can see, my father's signature is on that document. So he was okay with that. So we're not interested in that. Then she sends me an email where she went in the system and put my cousin's name in and generated all of these properties and said, circle each and every one of these properties that you feel you have an interest in. This is in the email. And I'm like, why are we going back to this? She's writing up the civil suit. So how are you writing it up when you still questioning some properties? Why are we not going by the factual stuff that I paid for, that I researched, and that I provided, and the title company provided? Why not go after those items? Because she didn't want to. She wanted it to be confusing because I made sure that everything was in chronological order. I didn't need her to hire a paralegal 2 years later to put everything in chronological order. And then at that point, I'm now paying the paralegal $300 an hour, because when she sent me the invoice, that's what it had. And she had his name in there, and he went over my stuff and put my stuff in chronological order. How can he do that? How could he do it? How could he do it, but she couldn't do it? And she's the licensed attorney. He's just a paralegal. How can you go in there and change and organize my stuff? You never even talked to me. And then I sent him, again, a list of all of the properties. He responded by, thank you, this will be very helpful. It's in order already. Of course it's going to be helpful. It's already in order. So again, she never looked at, apparently, anything that I sent her. But needless to say, she's now decided that she's no longer interested in representing us after 2 years of paying her $5,000 retainer fee, all of these trumped up charges on her reviewing documents that she can't even tell you about, because she wasn't doing it. She was just sitting up there trying to bleed me dry. She wanted to know how long we were going to go for. So needless to say, when she sent me the final invoice, when she told me in the email that she was no longer interested in representing us, because she said, I'm going to wrap up all of your stuff that you sent me, no, that I brought you. And I'm going to pack it up and I'm going to send it to you, and we're going to send you your invoice or your check. I got to read it to see verbatim exactly what she said. So after consulting with another attorney, they said, okay, so you hired her to assist you and your family to file a suit so that you can yield whatever it was that you was going after. So you paid her, she didn't file the civil suit, and you didn't yield anything. So then what is she getting paid for? What did she get paid for? And at what point did she realize she wasn't interested in representing the family? No, what she was in awe about was that she didn't think people of color could own something so massive in the state of South Carolina. And she wanted me to give her and lay out my whole family, everything. So where's your family from? Well, they from West Africa, but you know, it's a huge family, so they all are not from there. And she wanted to know, how are they able to do this with the Jim Crow era, blah, blah, blah. She wanted me to generate for her a ledger, a factual ledger on after emancipation, the name of the plantation, and the owners of the plantation, and when and how did my family acquire this property. She wanted me to write this out, and she said, and once you provide that to me, I'm going to take that and I'm going to draw up your civil suit. So you want me to draw up the civil suit too then? And not for nothing, I actually drew up 3 of them and emailed them to her, because I was wondering what was taking so long. But what was taking so long was the fact that she did not have an interest in wanting to write up the civil suit. She was more so wanting to know the history behind the people. The history behind the people. Because most people can't fathom the fact that you can own something like that. So needless to say, we have moved on, but there's still unfinished business with this attorney. But all of that will be taken care of. But that's the beauty behind working with someone that's licensed in any and everything, because we all carry insurance. And if you felt or feel that you were not represented properly, you were not treated properly, and you were taken advantage of, and you were exploited, and you can prove it, now you fight it, and now you get paid for all of that. Your time, your energy, your expenses for traveling, the time you took off from work. Also, somebody can play their little cat and mouse games, because that's exactly what I felt was done. So when it comes to Beaufort or the Carolinas, South or North Carolina, they need to heighten up their rules when it comes to title searches and transferring a property, because it only mucks up everything And if you're from the Carolinas, chances are this is something that you are going through if someone has not provided a will. So my advice to you is hire an attorney, check the reviews, because the reviews are great, because my review is going to stay online against Copage Law Firm in Beaufort, South Carolina with Denisesavage. The worst attorney ever. If you go to the reviews, you will see on the Google reviews that they may have 1 or 2 stars. In addition to that, the attorney that recommended me to them said that he's been hearing that they're not taking care of their clients and they're not finishing up with their cases. I wish I had known that. But it's a delay, but you have to move on. But this is the caveat. In life, people have so much that they have to deal with already. And when you go to a professional to get the honesty, and you getting someone that's supposed to work for your best interest, it's just amazing that that's the opposite. You're paying them to take advantage of you, and you're paying them to waste your time. Because in this case, that's exactly what I feel. And I also feel deep down in my soul that she contacted my family, because a lot of them are in high places. She contacted my family because there's no way for my aunt to call giddy. We don't even talk. What was she giddy about? But this is my story. And so what I want to do is, this story is going to be heard worldwide. My book is going to be diabolical, because this whole incident is diabolical. Everything is going to be documented. Whatever I speak about is factual, it's not hearsay, it's documented, and this is my story, and I'm going to tell it. I am going to open up this platform up to other people that may not have the ability financially to get what they are supposed to have, because the wealthy is getting wealthier, and the ones without are the ones that's being taken advantage of because they feel, what are you going to do? So we're going to change some things. So this platform is going to be about how are we going to help each other. And with this experience, I am going to document this experience one moment at a time. So my name is Sandra Stinson, and I want to thank you all for watching, and please subscribe. Any sourceful information will be provided. Anything that I speak of can be researched and can gain access to for accuracy. So again, thank you, and I hope that this is not your story, but please share, because you never know who is dealing with the same situation where they're being taken advantage of, whether that may be by their family, and whether that may be by the professionals out here. The worst thing is when it's your family. Those are the people that you are supposed to trust. Those are the people that have access to you. So it's just so diabolical to find out that after 30-something years, after the death of their brother, that they decided that this was the approach that they was going to take by excluding us, thinking that we would never ever find out. So what is family? If this is what your family would do, what is family? They no different than the snakes and the people on the street. These are the people that want you to call them auntie. These are the people that want to call you cuz. What is that? How do you go to sleep at night? Praise the Lord, hallelujah. These are church-going